Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. I garden in Zone 8B in southeastern North Carolina. Where did fall go? No, seriously, something has happened to fall. What has happened to fall? I was like enjoying a little bit of temperature drop, especially cooling off at night. And I kind of felt like I was tuning into nature and I was like, all right, this is awesome. I'm feeling more productive. Suddenly, we are in full-on summer again. We're talking in the mid to high 80s in the daytime, high 70s at night, virtually no cool off. It's ridiculous. So could we talk about weather for a minute here? I mean, we are the gardening community, so I feel like I want to talk about that for a second because things are so wild right now, at least in southeastern North Carolina. Let me show you my phone. If I go to the Weather Channel app on my phone, which, you know, I like to do. If I'm going to film a video or if I'm going to be out in the garden, I want to know what the weather's going to look like. And all I get is stuff talking about hurricanes. And so now we're talking about Helene, which has just recently passed us. And now we're talking about multiple Atlantic systems that are going to be the next hurricane. And you just scroll up and I have terrible footage. I have hurricane trackers. I don't know if it's like this for everyone or just those of us that are in like a hurricane possibly affected area. But it's like depressing and can really make you feel crazy. So I don't know what the heck is happening to the weather, but I have opted to do some work on the back patio today because it's, like I said, blazing hot out there. So let me show you what I have going on over here. So we're prepping our gardens for fall and we're trying to get things ready for cooler temperatures and, you know, doing some seasonal designs and that sort of thing. So honestly, even though I just said it's blazing hot out right now, what was on my docket for today was basically taking some things out of pots and such and moving them, getting them ready for their next phase, which is going to be overwintering. So let me just give you an example of what I mean. So I have my oyster plant. An oyster plant is not a cold tolerant plant, and a lot of people use it just as an indoor plant, and it's something that actually I have in a nice big mound by my pool. So last year when I was overwintering the oyster plant, I thought it would be dandy to divide it up into multiple cute little pots and leave it out as a set of 3. But it turned out the oyster plant didn't really thrive like this. So I wanted to join these oyster plants together, use these pots for something else, and put it maybe into one bigger pot and have like a nice burst of this foliage. And the reason why the oyster plant is cool is because you have the striped foliage on the top, the green and white, and then you have the purple underneath. So it is very cool to look at, and I do love the way it looks by the pool, but it just is not working. It's not plentiful, it doesn't look bushy or full at all in these little pots. That type of thing. Another type of example is this pot I had begonias in. I don't even remember now what happened to this pot and why these ones over here died. I don't remember if this was something that the deer was nipping at or maybe it dried out. I'm not sure what the problem was, but I need to fill that side of the begonia pot. And I had these clearance begonias sitting here waiting in its little plastic, you know, generic pot from the nursery. So I thought, let me take some from here, fill that up, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. Then I got some other stuff though that is more like what you would think of when you think about overwintering. So let me show you that. It's right behind me. Oh my gosh, you guys, you know how you get a little overzealous when spring first comes and you're designing a pot arrangement for the season and you accidentally stuff it with too much? Well, that's kind of what happened to me here. It's not that I stuffed it from the start, it's that I put things in here that were going to get really big. So what has happened is I was making this nice little delightful tropical arrangement. I have canna lilies, I have some diplodenia, and I have some kind of darkly colored elephant ears, but they're really struggling. So I'm not sure I can consider that now. And the canna lilies just grow so big and just keep popping up with new babies that is what was happening to this pot. So it got to the point, this was set out in my secret garden, And because the canna lilies are so tall, I mean so tall, even though this pot was attached to irrigation, when the wind would blow too hard, the whole pot would go over. And I understand it. I understand it. The canna lilies were too big for this area, and I have babies that are still coming up. It wants to push up more babies. So what is happening is I really need to get this pot separated, get these plants separated so that I can store them for the winter. Now what's going to happen is probably I'm going to leave some things in this big pot, and I'm going to just set this whole pot in the greenhouse. Not in the greenhouse now, probably not until November, but it has to be prepared because that's not the only pot that I have to take apart. And I don't know about you, but come October, I'm tired. So doing a lot of this work is like, oh my gosh, I better do it in pieces or I'm never gonna get it done in time for the cold weather to actually get here. So I need to empty out this entire pot and take everything apart. This is the biggest job by far that I have to do with all of my potting arranging today. So let's get into it. He looks very sad. I'm trying to just remove the little things first because you know that pot's going to be completely root bound with how big everything is in there. I can tell you right now, this Diplodenia is gonna get its own pot. I'll clip it back and hopefully it stays with me. It lived with me last winter, so I want it to stay again. So basically with this guy, I just was trying to separate this one new little baby that we had happening. And we got him because the roots of the canna lily are rhizomes. So I was just looking to make a cut in the rhizome root so I can get this out. So this is going to be its own Bengal tiger canna lily. That's the variety that is. So I will plant this up into a different pot because these are such great growers that I can give them to other people, put them in other areas, all of those sorts of things. So now for the big, heavy duty, tremendous piece that I have to pull out. Let's see if I can even do it. By the way, I know very well that my gloves are all ripped up, but if you know me, you know I barely ever wear gardening gloves. So this is just for jobs where I feel like they're hefty. See, I just had to take my gloves off. Thank goodness for time lapse, am I right? Because you don't have to suffer through all this time with me. But I got this baby out, making some room, so it'll be easier to get the bigger part out. Remember when I said I was tired before I even started this job? Yikes. Something that makes me feel good though is when I look at my loot right now and I see exactly how many plants I have here just from this one pot. It reminds me of how much cost savings, I guess, there is in growing your own things, dividing them and moving them. I mean, I always talk about dividing your perennials and getting those free plants. But even a plant like this, not with this height, but maybe with this size, a couple, 2 or 3 shoots, probably costs at least $20. This variegated Canna Lily costs more than, you know, regular standard ones, and who knows, this year they probably were $30 because everything's more expensive. But I'm just saying, if each one of these is, let's call it 20, I have at least $100 worth of Canna Lilies just right here, never mind what has grown more and multiplied in the actual ground. So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna pop each of these into their own separate pots. And while it's true that like the roots, or I mean the leaves and stuff may die back over the winter depending on where I keep the pots, it's fine. It doesn't matter because as long as the rhizomes are in there, I'm gonna have a new plant in a separate pot for next year and I can plant it wherever I want in the landscape. So here's something that's pretty cool. Now that this pot is empty, and this was the last of the dirt that was in there so that it's completely gone, I added a little bit more potting soil to it, and now I can use this pot for something else. And this works out great for me because these are 2 clearance plants that I had gotten that needed to get transplanted anyway. This one is the one I think I never know how to say the name of. I mean, it's like a cordyline of some kind, I guess. Spike Dracena, I don't know. Multicolored, beautiful spike that needed a bigger pot. So it is going to be the centerpiece here. Whew, and it really needed to come out of that. I can see why it was on clearance. And then this is a Mandevilla. Mandevilla? Yes. And I just got this one on clearance for $3, and it was originally a $25 plant. So that's going to go around my spike. Now the Mandevilla is a more viney kind of plant than the Diplodenia. You know how they look the same, but the Mandevilla is a climber. So I don't know if it will stay with this spike forever or just for overwintering purposes because they can share this pot or what. But that's a problem for a different day. They needed to be repotted and now we're about to see what's gonna happen. So let me see if I can divide this guy up. And it looks like I can. I'm just trying to be a little nice to the roots. Oh yeah. The roots separate nicely once you get in there. Of course, the plant wants to hang on to its little friends. Okay. And because this was on clearance, I actually have no idea what color it's going to be, but it doesn't matter to me. Can I just tell you what a smart choice it was to do that big pot first? Because that was like the dirty nitty-gritty work. Now I can work at the table like I'm a little more civilized. So I have washed up and now I'm ready to go with these smaller pots. The wind has picked up a bit, which is fine, but I am going to see if I could take the begonias fully out of this pot right here. I may make a little bit of a mess, but it's not that big of a deal because I could just brush everything off or hose it off. Do you see how gloves and I are not really friends? It's like so much easier for me to do my work without gloves. Even when I'm painting and doing artwork, I also don't want to wear gloves because I think I need to feel everything, and it just makes me feel more effective. Okay, this is not root bound at all, so it is going to be extremely easy to divide up. Looks like I got a little bit of pink and a little bit of red. I really wanted the red to stay in that. So let's see here. I barely had to do anything and this just split right in half. So let me take one more big chunk. Yeah, this is like super duper 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 easy. So I should be able to stick this whole piece right into that pot. Let's see if I can do that. So it's actually leaving me a little bit of a hole over here, so I'm gonna add another little piece. Again, super easy to divide up. So this will work out perfectly for this pot. And I could put this wherever. It was on my front porch, so I might go back there. And then I'll have to overwinter the begonias inside. No biggie, I love that. Okay, pot number 1 accomplished. So this is going to be pot number 2, also with begonias in it. Now let's see how many I can fit based on what I know now. I don't want to take up all the room with just one plant, or, you know, too big of a piece of a plant. How about that? Because the begonias do like to grow. It's like, is this enough? It's hard to tell. Probably. Pot number 2 accomplished. And I actually have another thought here. I had my gorgeous green and purple sweet potato vine growing in a pot just for extra. So I think I'll put a nice piece of begonia inside here. Let's see. No, I won't. Never mind. I don't like these colors together at all. They say all colors in nature are wonderful or whatever. I don't agree with this combination. Doesn't look good. So we're going to leave that out. Begonias are being set to the side just for now. They are not garbage. Now let's see what's up with this. Now this is the oyster plant, as I said. Another name for the oyster plant is Moses in the Cradle. So you may have heard of that. This pot looks so much better, so much more full with 3 pieces in it. So that definitely is going to work for me. And then I'll just have to find a separate spot for this guy. So here is my 3rd pot accomplished. Now, here's what I wanted to do with these. I recently rooted some coleus pieces in water. They were lickety-split easy to do. So what I'm going to do is actually plant these up, and I will be overwintering the coleus inside once it gets a little too cold for it to be out here. So I just snipped pieces of the coleus, rooted them right in that water cup right there, and it literally took a week before I saw roots. My third and final coleus piece is the smallest one I have. Now in the future, when I ask friends for little clippings, I guess little should be left out. I probably need taller clippings, more like the one I took from my own plant, which is the one and only coleus I have. We still have some nice roots on this baby. See, they got quite long in just a very short amount of time, so I'm happy. And it's tiny, but hopefully we have success with it. Otherwise, I'll just keep asking people for clippings of things. And you know, if it doesn't affect their plant at all, most people do not mind giving you clippings that you can root. So anyway, as I said, coleus happens to be extremely easy to root in water. You just don't want to leave it in water forever. Putting it in soil will be the way to go. So let's check out my whole inventory from all the work I did today. So just by repotting a few things that we're going to overwinter, we ended up with so far 3 begonia plants, but this one's probably going to end up being even more than that. And I love that. Next year, you're going to see so many more things in my landscape and you're going to be like, I remember when she divided that. So the oyster plant, which looks better, more plentiful, that's going to stay outside still for a while yet, but then I'll bring it in again, just, you know, for the winter time. And then 3 coleus, that's not it. And then over here, we got my spike that cost a few dollars. My mandevilla cost a few dollars. What'd we say? At least $100 worth of canna lilies over here. The Diplodenia, the yellow one, hopefully this one does come back because it was looking pretty sorry over there. And then my darkly colored elephant ears. So, you know, this is what's going to keep happening. I have more pots of things that need to get divided up that have hibiscus in it and also all sorts of other goodies. Things that are going to have to live in the greenhouse for the winter. But again, greenhouse is not even close to being prepared yet. I still need to get new panels for the ceiling. But again, nothing's going to go in there anyway until the weather gets much cooler, because this was a gross day today. The idea with showing you videos like this is basically, I guess, to say, look at what we can divide up, look at what we can root easily, because again, I'm not for anything that's overly challenging or isn't going to survive easily for me. So that's really the whole thing. So you can say, hey, I want to go get a coleus and I want to root more, and then I want to have 25 coleus by the end of the winter, let's say, if you have a spot to overwinter them inside your house. So it just feels fun and feels good to be able to do that and add to our landscapes. So I think I kind of forgot about the bummer of the weather since I was with you doing this today. So I'm thankful for that as well. And we're just gonna kind of have to stick together as a community and see what the heck is going on in everybody's properties and, oh my gosh, deal with whatever comes our way, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the support. And until next time, happy planting.